Okay, respect for colleagues. Again, this doesn't mean you have to actually respect the person, but you at least need to demonstrate respect for your colleagues. Going back to the definition, who are your colleagues? Other interpreters, okay? As well as the tenet here says demonstrate respect for colleagues, interns, and students of the profession. I don't need to tell you guys that. You are students and or interns. And so you know that. You know how it feels to not be respected by professional interpreters. I know that. I was an intern, or even a young interpreter at times where people assumed that I was an intern. And it was very frustrating at times to not have the respect of your colleagues. So as much as I possibly can, I try to demonstrate that to people. It's important that we collaborate with colleagues to ensure that we are delivering the best quality services that we can. And also, you have to remember that when you are working as an interpreter, you're not just representing yourself anymore. You are representing yourself. You're representing, if you graduated from an ITP, your school. You're representing the deaf community. You're representing the hearing community. You're representing all interpreters that will come after you. You're representing so many people, it's not even funny. If I show up to a college class late all the time, I'm not just making myself look bad anymore. I'm making the student look bad because the teacher's thinking to themselves, man, if this deaf person didn't have an interpreter, I wouldn't have this interruption every day in my class. So now they grow to resent the student, which isn't their fault, it's my fault for showing up late. I'm setting a bad precedent for all the interpreters who are to follow me as well. And so that's something you always have to be vigilant about and just keep in the back of your mind and recognize that you don't just represent yourself anymore. It's a heavy burden to bear, but it's one that you need to be aware of. Let's see. 5.1 says maintain civility toward colleagues, interns, and students. Seems easy enough. You'd be surprised. Sometimes it's very difficult. I remember one time that I had to be absent from a class that I typically interpreted, and my team also was absent that day, and so there were two different interpreters that showed up to that class the day to voice for a deaf teacher. And when I came back, holy moly, with my team, the hearing students came up to us and were just like, whoa, you will never guess what happened. And they just went on this rant of how the two interpreters who replaced us got into an argument, and it was just ugly. And I was thinking, wow, they are not representing our profession well. You know, if you disagree with someone, you take them to the side. It's not something that you do in front of other people, and we'll get into that in a second as well. But, you know, again, just recognize who you're representing and maintain civility. 5.2. Work cooperatively with team members through consultation before assignments. Again, get there early. Regarding logistics, providing professional and courteous assistance when asked in monitoring the accuracy of the message while functioning in the role of the support interpreter. And very often you'll hear us call the support interpreter the team interpreter, okay? If there are two interpreters in a situation, you are not supposed to turn take. And yet, that is very often what I see people do. I get 20 minutes, you get 20 minutes. During your 20 minutes, I'm going to go and take a smoke break, or I'm going to knit, or I'm going to get on Facebook, or I'm going to do my thing. No! That is not teaming, that is turn-taking, okay? That is not being a support interpreter. As you get into your skills classes, and some of you guys who are already in the skills classes can attest to the fact that honestly, the support interpreter has a bigger job, in my personal opinion, than the on or hot seat interpreter, the interpreter who's actively interpreting. The support interpreter has to be monitoring, like it said, the accuracy of the message. They need to be monitoring the time. They need to be showing any documents to the on interpreter that maybe are being gone over. For example, if the teacher is giving the answers to a test, then it would be very helpful if the support interpreter had a copy of the test in their hands and were pointing exactly which question we were on as we're going through the test. Or if there's a complicated equation or a long name or technical vocabulary word, that person was pointing in the book to exactly where that is so that I can see the spelling of it, that I we're working together. I had an interpreter that I worked with one-on-one for years, and we knew what the other person needed. I mean, just because we knew each other that well by that point, and we worked very, very effectively as a team. And so it's important that you recognize these things and that you're not just lackadaisical and just sitting there and on your pager or those kinds of things. What does that look like to you? If you go to a restaurant and your server's there on their pager, what does that look like to you? I'm not saying that that hasn't happened. I'm sure it has happened to some of you guys. But it doesn't look very professional, right? And so even if you're not the on interpreter, it's important that you're still representing yourself well. Represent, you know? It's important that you are there as, and also that you're not carrying on a conversation with the hearing or the deaf consumer while you're supposed to be actively teaming with the on interpreter. So anyway, just recognize that. We'll talk more throughout class about the role of a team or a support interpreter, but keep that in the back of your mind. 5.3 says approach colleagues privately to discuss and resolve breaches of ethical or professional conduct through standard conflict resolution methods. File a formal grievance only after such attempts have been unsuccessful or the breaches are harmful or habitual. And so again, this kind of, I know, again, not all of you guys are Christians, but if you read the Bible, it talks about this. You approach the person first. If that doesn't work, then you bring a group of people to talk to this person. If that doesn't work, then finally you may have to, go to some more drastic measures. That's kind of what this is saying here. Take the person to the side. You don't want to embarrass them in front of everyone. I will tell you of a time where somebody took me to the side, and I was so thankful, because you know what? What I was trying to do was not, I wasn't attempting to be malicious, and I think this other interpreter recognized this. What had happened was, I was working in a school, and some parents of a deaf child came up to me and they asked me, oh, how did Bobby do today? And I was like, oh, Bobby is so cute. He drew the cutest little picture, and he did so well in math today, and blah, 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 blah. And I am just spilling about Bobby because I just love him so much, and he's such a good kid, and I want his parents to know just what a fabulous child he is. Well, another interpreter heard what I did, and she pulled me to the side later, privately, and said, you know what? That really shouldn't be your role. You should let the teacher tell them. What you just told them was confidential information, and you should let the teacher talk with them. And you know what? I was like, you are right. I should not have said all of that. And I was so appreciative that she didn't take me in front of everybody and say, Lael did this, this, and this, Because you know what? After that, I didn't do that anymore. I recognized very quickly, even though I had good intentions, I shouldn't have done that. And you know what? If you got called on the carpet for every unethical thing you did, you would lose your certification within the first 5 minutes of probably having it. All of us would. Everybody's going to make mistakes sometimes. It's just ensuring that we don't continue to make those mistakes, that they're not habitual or harmful. And so just make sure that you know when to approach people and how to approach them. 99% of the time, they're not trying to be malicious. It really is the good things that I have a hard time not telling people, like, oh my gosh, I want to tell people so badly what a wonderful thing this person did. And I just have to keep that in check. Anyway, and also you need to learn to be a little more confrontational as an interpreter. I think that very often we just let things go, and you need to learn to call people out on the carpet if they need to be called on the carpet, but do it privately. That's the important thing, so that you're still maintaining professionalism. Okay? We're going to continue talking about respect for colleagues in the next video. Thanks!